When I returned from USA in 1973, I was asked to set a lab. In fact, it was my insistence that there be a lab and office for me. The then HOD asked me to set up a lab on my own. He paid a tiny sum and asked me to get some furniture for it. So a place was carved out for me in Baranda where I set up my lab. I had a few chemicals and little equipments, microscopes, etc., microtome and incubator and all that. I wanted to do some histochemical work, which I had been doing prior to my uh, visit to America. And then I thought, well, I have to do something because I just can't waste my time like that. After doing high-powered nucleic acid research in USA, I couldn't have started that way. So I thought that I should tailor my lab according to the facilities available. I started working on, in fact, I inducted a student of mine who said, well, he would like to work under me. I said, okay, go ahead. And I gave him a problem. And that problem was related to neurosecretory cells in the ventral nerve cord of a leech. And I told him, gave him a pretty good outline of what things to do, and he went about doing it. And finally, some tangible results were obtained, and a thesis was written on that subject. After that came along another student, and I had to give her a different problem. The problem was related to potentiation of oocyte growth of some fish uh, upon the injection or upon the feeding of certain specific amino acids. She also went along fine as I had given her suggestions, and she worked tandem and got some results and wrote a thesis. It was all okay. After that came along some other students. In this way, the work started in my lab. My emphasis was on neurosecretion and then on the potentiation of oocyte growth in fish. It was related to reproductive biology, but the angle was cytological and histochemical. Another student of mine came and he wanted to do some elementary work in biochemistry of fish, and I wanted to see whether certain molecules that are stored in one organ of the fish can migrate to another depending upon the seasons. Well, that was too fine. In this way, the work went on, and then I decided that I should embark upon a new line, and I chose to work on carcinogenesis. Hired a couple of students working on the carcinogens, potential carcinogens like coal tar, asbestos, and they worked. The idea was to see whether these chemicals, when injected or fed, uh, cause some kind of damage to the tissue, and if they cause damage, which tissue is affected most. And I found that in these experiments, the liver was the most affected, and after that was the gonad. That is, in testis, spermatogenesis stopped, and in oogenesis also stopped, something like that. So that was the third area of research. Then came along a student who got fellowship from the Indian Council of Medical Research, and he sort of desired that I give him a very different kind of problem. So I got in touch with Dr. S.N. Upadhyay, a famous gynecologist at that point, and requested him to give us some space in his lab. And then we started examining smears, pap smears, to find out how many patients, the lady patients who come along, have lesions that point to uh, cervical cancer. And that was also okay. And after that came some students whom I gave some problems related to some homeopathic drugs that can be used to stimulate certain organs to the body of fish and guinea pig. So things went on, and finally I called off. I said, well, these are the three, four problems I worked on. We got some tangible results and published a few papers on that. This is all about my research after I returned from the USA um, in 1963, and the work culminated till 1998, December, when I retired.